Welcome to the Lady Up America podcast. I'm Diane Canada, your host. I'm so glad you're here today. Y'all, today is going to be a big show, really important show. We're going to be talking about the First Amendment. So deep dive into the First Amendment with our good friend, Joni Bryan. Be right back.
Lady up around this town. Lady up around this town. Victory on the battleground. We claim it now. Lady up, lady up. Lady up, lady up.
I am so excited for you to meet one of my dear friends, Joni Bryan. She is the founder of the 917 Society. And let me tell you what that means. For many of us, we didn't know that Constitution Day is an official day here in America, and it's on September 17th. And so we're going to be talking with Joni today about the 917 Society. She has been putting pocket constitutions, they look just like this, little pocket constitutions, into the hands of eighth graders all across our country. She's doing a great job. She's got an incredible team. So coming up on September 17th this year, we're going to have a whole new round of kiddos getting those constitutions. And she's also got a really special event coming up to commemorate that day. So please welcome to the show, Joni Bryan. Hey, Joni.
Hey, Diane. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thank you for coming. I always love visiting with you. Joni, I wanted to bring you on today because not only to celebrate the work you're doing with Constitution Day coming up, but specifically to take a deep dive into the First Amendment of the Constitution, because it is like top of mind for so many of us right now, so many conservatives. There's so much about that First Amendment that's literally under attack right now. We want to just draw attention to it, but we also want to talk about solutions today. And you're always so great to do that. So let's first dive real quick into the Constitution Day that's coming up. If you could let people know a little bit about what you're doing, how the year has gone with schools, and what's coming up for your event.
Okay, wonderful. Well, of course, we work all year. We raise money to print and distribute pocket constitutions, and we also provide free online resources to teachers, lesson plans, games, videos, all kinds of things that they can get online free. So we work all year to do that. And so we just finished in August. We began in August distributing. And so we got out to all of our volunteers. And the way it works, we let schools order direct, and we do have a lot of schools that order direct from us, but for those that still don't know about us, because like you said, most people don't know about Constitution Day, we have volunteers all over the U.S. now. We're in all 50 states, and people can volunteer to make sure that their eighth graders get the constitutions. And so we ship them to them, and we let them get them to the schools. And so we also have people doing programs in the schools. We have a lot of veterans doing programs, so it's really cool. And so we worked all year to do that. And so we just finished getting our distribution out. So we printed 1.25 million this year. And so we got the bulk of them out. We'll still have more going through the year because it goes all year, but our focus is Constitution Day. And so then we'll come together next Tuesday night on Constitution Day to honor and celebrate the day, and then to kick off our new year, because every year we got new kids every year. So our goal is to make sure that every year, every eighth grader receives their Constitution to honor and celebrate that day and have the opportunity to read it and also carry it with them. And I have to tell you, I just got a letter yesterday and it just thrilled me. And a teacher had said that they've been doing this program for 2 years, and they'd ordered direct from us. And they said that last year, when the kids got their constitutions, that they couldn't put them down. And they had a lot of the teachers telling them that they had to ask the kids to stop reading in the other classes, because they would go to the other classes and they were sitting there reading their constitutions. And they said they were so thrilled. They said it was a huge success. And, because think about it, everything's online, everything's on the computer. Having your very own copy, it creates that sense of ownership to this document. And with the way computers are nowadays, how AI and everything can change things. We want to have this in writing. We don't want to lose those original words of our Constitution. So it's really exciting, but we'll start next week we don't take a break. We start a new year, so we keep going.
And you've got a big and your annual gala is coming up on the 17th. So
Yes.
people can go to 917.org and get information about that.
Yeah, 917society.org. Go to
917
events,
Society.
and you'll see our Constitution Day event. We have Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who is just a fabulous, fabulous speaker, very motivational. He is truly living the American dream. He rose to fame literally like 5 years ago when he spoke at a city council meeting about the Second Amendment and about some of the gun control laws that they were coming out with. And so the video went viral. And that next year, he had never been in politics, and he was elected lieutenant governor of North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, with God, anything can happen. And you've had, just to kind of mention too, for folks who may not know about 917 Society, you've also done your annual events down at Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
And Tulsi Gabbard was your speaker this past year. And so you get some really big name, household name politicians that come in and really keynote and give a lot of great information. You've had Larry Elder, and you've had all kinds of great people. There's just a variety of personalities that are really backing what you're doing. And you've been at this for a while now. I love to see it spreading 1.2 million constitutions. That's amazing. Why eighth graders, real quick, before we dive into the First Amendment?
Well, when I started this, I started investigating about the federal mandate. And there is a federal mandate, 108-447, that says all schools, K through 12, all universities, and all federal employees are to have a program on the Constitution on or around September 17th. Sadly, it wasn't happening. So as I started to develop the program, I thought, well, how can we, and I knew that I had never read the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So that was my big motivation. I thought, how can we make sure our young people have an opportunity to read it for themselves, to, create a sense of ownership in this document? And so in eighth grade, there are 3 grades in the U.S. curriculum, 4th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade, that they're supposed to have civics in depth, where they go more in depth into the Constitution. And so we chose 8th grade because that's just the perfect year to really give them these concepts. We'd like to one day develop a 4th grade program and develop a high school program, but for what we're doing right now, 8th grade is perfect. And then every year it's a new group of 8th graders. So eventually all of our citizens, as we keep going. And what I love is now we've been doing this in Tennessee for a while, about 6 years, since 2016. And I've had college kids come up to me and show me their Constitution that they got in 8th grade. You talk about making somebody cry.
I bet. I bet. That's incredible.
So that's why we want to every year, every 8th grader to receive their Constitution, to commemorate that day, to realize that they are a citizen of this great country, and this is their guidebook for citizenship.
Well, and if you can get that information in them before they get into the indoctrination camp of high school and college, then, all the better. So I honor you for the work you do, Joni. We've known each other for quite a while now. And Dr. Ming Wang, we have him in common as president of our Founders Clubs.
Yes, he's amazing. He is an amazing man.
And Stephen, too, with the American Bible Project.
Yes,
the 3 of us were kind of the 3 amigos with Dr. Wang.
Yes, absolutely. And we're working closely. We're going to be doing some more things with the Bible Project this year to help our teachers know they can get a Bible. So we're trying to spread the word for the Bible Project also.
Love that. Love that. Well, let's give people a really good deep dive into this First Amendment, because we keep hearing about it on the news. Of course, again, everyone's talking about it. The Harris-Walz campaign is really firing some pretty good missiles at our First Amendment right now. Yes. This administration that's currently in office. Again, I really do, on our show, we always want to focus on the solutions. So we'll get to those in just a minute. But let's talk. I'm just going to read here real quick. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I'm going to read here what the First Amendment actually says. Mm-hmm. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay. So Joni, it's a lot packed into that amendment. Let's break it down a little bit. The Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So let's just talk about that one for a minute and let's kind of pick it apart. What comes to your mind first when you read that versus what you're seeing play out?
Well, when you read that, my biggest thought I always have is how people misunderstand what is called the separation of church and state.
Yeah.
The Constitution does not say anything about the separation of church and state. It's inferred, and it became into the forefront through the Supreme Court decision. So that was much, much later. But the whole point of that is we don't want a government-sponsored religion, because when our founders came over from England, that was the problem. That the government was saying you have to follow this particular religion, Church of England. Well, they knew how important it was to have the freedom to choose to believe or not to believe. But it doesn't mean that you're supposed to exclude your faith out of your everyday life, whether it be, if you work in the government, wherever you work, you're supposed to be free to exercise your beliefs. And I think that is, people are afraid, because, separation of church and state. But what they have to understand is the only one limited is the government, not you.
Right. Separation of state and church, not church and state. And we always draw attention to that letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Church, where he was assuring them that government wouldn't interfere with them. But it's been kind of twisted and molded. And so I think a lot of people do think that statement is in our Constitution. So it is not. And, you were talking about our founding fathers. Yes, they were running from a tyrannical government when they came here, so they didn't want to impose one on us, but they also were very clear in the fact that our republic is only set up for a moral people. And so what about all these other competing religions that are in direct conflict with the Christian Judeo worldview? What are we supposed to do there? Like, how's that supposed to work?
And it is difficult. But the thing about Christianity, and I am a Christian, and the thing about Christianity, and you have to choose it.
Right.
No one can force you to be a Christian.
Right.
It is a choice you have to make inside. And so, and our founders, founding this country based on moral principles, based on biblical principles, Christian principles, they wanted everyone to be able to come here. They wanted, every religion, every faith, or no religion, to be welcome here in this country. But at the same time, that did not take away, our responsibilities as Christians to share our faith with people, and we're supposed to share our faith. That's what Christianity is all about. And our founders knew that. But, I think it's really important for us to understand that, I hear people talk about, well, we don't want our kids indoctrinated. You can't indoctrinate somebody into a Christian faith because it is a personal choice.
Yeah.
You have to choose it. No one can make you do it. And I think that's the big difference, with a lot of other religions where you may be forced. Like there's some, that are based on certain laws and things like that. We're not under the law as Christians, so we don't have that same mandate. And so I think that welcoming everyone here is important, but also understanding that it's important for us to share our faith, and then people can choose or not choose. That's up to them. They have that right. If they want to be a Christian or don't be a Christian or whatever, that's fine. And we can coexist together, but we still have a moral foundation because our Constitution was written for a moral people and it will serve no other. And I believe that was James Madison that said that.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one of them quoted it. We need to go back and look at that. But I think where people get lost a little bit on this is that, when people come to America, like I know when we were still in the 13 colonies, they had a rule that basically said you had to be a Christian in order to serve in Congress, which to me made perfect sense, because if you're shaping the laws of the land and our Constitution was set up for a Christian society, then it would make sense to me that you would have people in Congress then that share that same worldview. You can only have one moral compass for a society. So if you've got someone from Islam and serving in Congress, and a Christian, and all these other competing religions, then what is the law based on? A lot of people will say, "Oh, Diane, you can't legislate morality," and I'm like, "What do we legislate if not morality?"
Well, we do legislate morality. I mean, we actually do. I mean, murder.
Yeah, yeah.
We legislate, crime, different things,
Yeah.
stealing, those different things. So we legislate that stuff.
Yes,
so
we do.
You actually can legislate it, and what is the problem we're having today is government is wanting to be God.
Right. Taking the church's
instead of
job.
God being God.
Yeah.
Our rights
Yeah.
are God-given rights. All these
That's
rights in
right.
that First Amendment are given to us by God.
Right.
And the government does not give us these rights.
Right.
They just, the Constitution guarantees those rights for us, but God gave us those rights. And so
Yeah.
I think that's the big conflict we're having today is government wants to be God, wants to be the one we depend on, the one we rely on, the one that we, and we can't, we, as human beings, we're not wired that way.
Right.
We're wired to seek out a higher power and seek out God. And, so I think that's a big issue right now is we have a group, I guess you'd say, or one view of, government needs to be who we depend on. We need to be relying on the government for everything. And then you have a group over here that said, no, we need less government involvement and we need to be more independent. God created us to be independent. I mean, that is wired inside of us to be free, to be a free people. And
that's what our founding fathers knew too, that the bigger the government gets, the more bloated government gets, the less free we are.
Absolutely. The more control they have. And so, and now, we're seeing a side that wants to take care of everything for us. But in doing so, it takes away our freedoms. And we have to remember that because God created us to be free and a free people. I mean, it's wired in us, I mean, that's why when you look at, punishment for things is like when you imprison somebody, you take away their freedom. That's a punishment because we are wired to be free. It's innate to everybody to be free.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And our founding fathers too knew when they were writing this genius Constitution that we had to be trustworthy to be self-governing.
Absolutely.
Because the only way we're going to do that is if we are answering to a higher power ourselves. And it's the church's job to kind of help shape culture, not government's job.
Absolutely.
And so our founding fathers were just so brilliant setting this up. But when people say, I feel like there are certain religions that are a direct conflict to Christianity. And I know that's a tough one. I don't think we can solve that one in this discussion today, but I'd like to maybe revisit it later. But it is really tough for me to imagine how, if we can't agree on one moral compass for a society, like if you come here and you have grown up in Islam or in the Muslim faith or whatever, the idea when you come to America was to assimilate and kind of take on our values and culture, not come here and try to dismantle them and change them and set up your own.
Right. In any country you go to, you are expected to assimilate to that country.
Yes.
You are expected to speak that language. You're expected to, follow those traditions and customs and whatever. You can still have your own, but those are the predominant ones. And I think in America, we've got it backwards. People come here and it's like we're supposed to bend over backwards and accommodate them.
Exactly.
But they're coming here to have what we have. So they should come and they should assimilate to the way our culture is. And our culture was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Now, not one particular religion as far as, we do have Jewish people, we have people who are Christian, but it was a firm set of Judeo-Christian values. Let's go back all the way to our 10 Commandments. That was where the moral compass was. If government decides, who decides in government what our moral compass is, what our moral, that's the big thing. Who gets to decide with all this censorship and all these different things that are going on? Who is that moral authority? And that's where that cancel culture has come in and has been so disruptive to our culture because, well, I don't like what you say, so I'm going to cancel it. Well, who are you to say I can't say something? Who gives you that power and that authority?
And I'll tell you that the secularism is a religion in and of itself. This worldview that we are that affirming everyone is a lot. It's not enough to accept the way someone else wants to live. We are now forced to affirm it or else.
And I think that is so valid a point you're making because it's something I've seen a lot of and experienced a lot of the last few years is the exact thing you're saying is we are to respect if somebody's 18 years and older and they're an adult and they're abiding by, the Constitution, they can do as they choose to do. They can love who they want to love. They can live how they want to live. Okay. We have to respect their decisions. We don't have to approve it.
Right.
We don't have to say it's right. But that's what we're being told now is, well, if you have a certain religious view against a certain lifestyle or whatever, then you can't have that view. Sorry. We have freedom of our beliefs and our religious beliefs. And so I don't have to like it, but I have to respect your right to do it, but I don't have to approve it.
Yes.
No one has to approve of my lifestyle. That's not a right. That's not something that you have. So, if someone doesn't like my lifestyle, I'm a single woman and, somebody may expect people to be married or whatever, and I've been divorced for a while, so there may be people that don't like it, and that's okay. And there are people that may not approve and that's okay, because, I'm living my life and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But they don't have to approve of it. And I don't expect them to, I don't expect someone else to approve of it. I'm not,
and there's not a punishment.
Oh, that's okay.
There's not a punishment if they don't approve. Like, let's just break it down even further. Like, let's just say somebody lives in the country and they prefer, a ranch or a farm lifestyle, and somebody lives in the city, and they love the concrete jungle, you can go live in the country or you can go live in the city when nobody's going to tell you how to live. But the minute we start saying, the city people start saying, oh, the country people are hicks and all this, and then we're forced now to come live in the city. I mean, that's the kind of silliness that we're seeing in our culture on so many levels right now. It's like, if you don't, like you say, approve or affirm, then, and so this is where we get into, in this First Amendment here, talking about the freedom of speech and of the press, and to peaceably assemble. All these things are just getting so twisted and torqued. When we talk about freedom of speech, let's talk about that censorship for a minute. That's a form of punishment. If you don't approve, you don't go along with the lifestyle, whatever, we'll shut you down. We'll cut you off.
And who gives that person, who makes them that authority?
Right.
Okay, so there's a certain group of people that don't like something you say. Our military people, our veterans, fought wars.
Yeah.
So that we could be able to have this freedom of speech. People died on the battlefield.
That's right.
I've heard this many times. I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend with my life your right to say it. And, yes, words have consequences. If you say something stupid, you're going to have to accept the consequences of that. Somebody will come back and say, well, that was stupid. Okay, well, you think it's stupid. All right. But, I mean, that's just part of it. But that is free speech. I can say things, you and I could say things right now that we each might not agree with, but who's to say that what I say is wrong because you say it's wrong?
Yeah. Again, who's the umpire? Like, if we don't have, and even when we're talking about laws and things like that being passed, or people, campaign positions, all of that, it's got to be based on the structure of our Constitution. It's whoever's upholding office, whoever's in an elected position, their oath mean, they're swearing on a Bible and they are swearing to uphold this Constitution.
Right.
And so again, this is where I think a lot of people are getting lost because we're twisting the context or twisting the meaning of these phrases. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I just want to talk about some solutions because I think a lot of people are aware of what we're saying. Maybe there's some things we've said here today that are new for people to kind of process. But as a Christian woman listening to this or a Christian man, what I'm seeing is so many people shrinking back because there are such consequences if you don't go along now.
Mm-hmm.
What can that average person out there do? Their livelihood might be on the line. They're trying to provide for their children.
Yeah.
I'd love your opinion on that. I have one, but I would just love your opinion on what can that person do?
Well, this has really impacted me because of just speaking out. And I even started speaking at churches because I was noticing that a lot of people in church, 4 years ago, 20 million evangelical Christians did not vote.
Yeah.
And so there's this, I guess, misconception that, Christians shouldn't be involved in politics. But Christians are people, and our country is we the people,
Yes.
and Christians are people too. So
Yes.
we all should have a voice. And so don't be afraid to speak out. You can speak out in love, but don't be afraid to speak out. Even if people are going to not like what you say, you don't have to speak in anger, or you don't have to, you can do it all in love. I love having conversations with people who don't agree with me, and we can talk and we can go back and forth and we can debate. Our country was founded on debate, rigorous debate, different ideas coming together, and they're trying to form a more perfect union, and that's what we want to continue to strive for. And when you cancel someone else because you just don't like what they say or you don't agree with it, you're really missing an opportunity to learn something. And so I've learned a lot from people that I don't agree with. And I think it's important to be able to do it in love. And as a Christian, especially, to do it in love, but to not be afraid to speak out because your voice is important. And if you don't vote, you don't participate in the process, you're complicit in the laws that are being passed because you didn't participate in it.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things about that I'll just piggyback on. One, I think we should be a lot more concerned about answering to God than worrying about getting canceled.
Absolutely.
We have, God instructs us as ambassadors for him to speak truth in love. Absolutely. And going along to get along or affirming or approving something that is 100% against your belief system, your belief in God, you'll have to stand before God one day and answer for that. And yes, we're forgiven, but we also, it doesn't mean that just because we have our name in the book of life, that just because we're going to heaven one day doesn't mean we don't still have an assignment here. And winning people to Christ, telling them the truth. And like you say, Joni, telling them in love. And in Lady Up America here, we have a whole program around how to do this. That's what Lady Up is all about. How to have these really tough, uncomfortable conversations and know what to say, like how to approach it in a way that doesn't get you canceled and in a way that actually can win them. We're teaching people in Lady Up how to get people to question their own beliefs, not argue with yours. But it starts with what you're saying, Joni, is speaking that truth in love. And when we can stay at peace about it and know that we are on the side of right, we are God's law. He is our creator and he created the law. We're not judging. God's the judge. Right. We're just reiterating that truth in love. And we're saying, you can say it gently. I really, and what I teach Lady Up is lean in and ask them, say, tell me more about that. How did you arrive at that worldview? Or how did you arrive at that conclusion? Get them to open up to you, and then you've earned permission to be heard where then you can come in.
Because if you listen to someone, if you listen to them and let them speak and give them that respect, then, normally they'll do the same with you. And, when you are speaking with someone and let's say it gets heated or whatever, take a moment, just ask God to guide you into the right
God,
words.
give me the words.
Give you those words to say. I know many times this last year I've had to just say, Lord, you fight this battle. I can't fight this battle,
Yeah.
this is your battle, you show
Yes,
me what
yes.
to do because I can't do it,
Right.
and so you will get that wisdom and that discernment to learn what to do and what to say, and sometimes when not to say, when to
Yeah.
keep your mouth shut and when to talk, but you can do it all in love.
Yeah, and that's the key is God give me the words. It changes the whole atmosphere of the conversation when you invite him into it.
Absolutely.
You don't have to handle this on your own. And you're so right, Joni. The battle is the Lord's. Our job is to stand, to take
Right.
the stand, but the
Right.
battle is his.
Yes.
But we have to stand, and that means speaking the truth, even if you have to do it on trembling knees, or even if you have to do it in mixed company where they don't want to hear it. God says,
Mhm.
let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to go into some, 30-minute excuse
Right.
making thing to explain just your yes or your no.
Right.
And you really don't owe an explanation.
You don't.
I think this is where we, especially as women listening, we feel like we've got to justify the decision.
Yeah. And if you're
And we
following
don't.
what you feel is right in your heart and you've prayed about it and you're doing the right thing, you don't owe anyone an
You
explanation.
don't
God's
owe
the
it.
one we have to answer to.
And that took me years to learn that. I still find myself trying to do it sometimes, but we do not have to do that. God will honor us when we honor him.
Right.
And taking that stand for him is so important. Like you say, in love, you can do it in a loving tone, but in a very firm. You're not wobbly on this. You understand where the lines are, and you're willing to stand on them. And if somebody gets their feelings hurt, or if somebody doesn't invite you to the parties going forward, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
we need to be a lot more concerned about our standing
Exactly.
ovation in heaven than we are here.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Joni, I always love visiting with you. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on today and sitting and visiting with me. Let's make sure that everybody knows, once again, go to 917society.org and get involved in what Joni's doing. We're putting these constitutions, y'all, these little handheld constitutions into the hands of 8th graders all over the country. And also consider donating to her cause. And if you're in the Nashville area, reach out and see about coming to the big gala that's coming up on Constitution Day, September 17th. Joni, any last words of wisdom you want to leave? Just a last statement you want to leave in anyone's heart?
I just want to thank everyone for listening and just tell everybody to, on September 17th, read your Constitution if you haven't read it, because it will open your eyes to a lot of things.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Thanks again, Joni. And we will see you again. You're welcome here anytime. You know that.
Thank you so much, Diane. Always a pleasure.
All right, ladies, I hope that's been a blessing to you today. And thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all, we got to get these constitutions into the hands of our kiddos and into our own hearts. We need to know what our rights are so that we know how to decipher through the smoke screens that they're throwing at us. We need to know what the truth is. So get your Constitution out, read it. September 17th, Constitution Day. And I will see y'all next time. Lady up.
Around this town, lady up around